With the hype of Dragon Ball sparking Zero and Daima right now, most people have probably forgotten the Bandai asymmetrical Dragon Ball game that just turned 2 years old, where one player plays as the big bad from the series while the other 7 plays as regular humans. I have always had an interest in Dragon Ball The Breakers, but with the budget graphics and the bad word of mouth, it really kept me away. But when they recently added a GT Raider, a few times I was close to getting it on 50% off, but then I saw it for 75% off on Humble Bundle, and at that price, I can't really complain too much. That was a month and a half ago, and I clocked in 75 hours. I really like the idea of the game, and the interesting characters and abilities, but the execution I have mixed feelings about, especially with how greedy the progression is. And a video would let me get everything off my chest and validate my hours played. A quick rundown of the gameplay and lore that I can remember. This story is tied with the Xenoverse and Hero series. You make a creator character that was sucked into a time rift. It's a place with familiar locations from the series. Xenotrunks helps you escape from the boss and teaches you how to play and fix the fractured world. The story frames each match as you fix the fractured timelines that randomly appears. It's a okay justification. There are more story quests, but I haven't done them. The gameplay has a team of 7 survivors who have to find a key in chests that is placed in each zone. They'll have to plant all of them to summon the Super Time Machine. Once the Super Time Machine is all charged up, you win. But if the Super Time Machine breaks, escape time machines will appear to let you have some form of a win for yourself. All the while, the Raider, who are one of the bad guys from the series, tries to evolve into their ultimate form while taking out the other team and preventing the keys from being planted and the Super Time Machine from going off. Survivors can find tools like rocket launchers, radars, sensor beams, and recovery shields. When you pick up enough orange cubes, you can drag and change to gain the power of a Dragon Ball character to hold back the Raider, but most of the time it's better to run away. This is a mostly complete rundown. There are good and interesting things about this game. To compare it to the most popular asymmetrical game, Dead by Daylight, I find searching for the keys is more engaging than doing QuickTime events at generators, even if some of the crates are easy to miss. The ability to fight the Raider with your limited power is thrilling. Also, the open nature of the maps lets survivors' ability go pretty wild for what they could do. The Dragon Ball theme enhances this game's pretty well too, the small details that are usually not talked about anymore since everything is so powerful. The unique locations, the type of items you pick up, and the abilities are all pretty charming. I think my favorite part of this game is letting lower powered characters play a role in the action. Puar, Bulma, Mai, Chi-Chi, Launch, and countless more are playable with unique abilities that can be equipped to anyone after upgrading them enough. This is what got me interested in the first place, and the cinematics. They just look really clean. The Raider's varied abilities and evolutions causes matches to have a natural progression narratively, where the survivors and Raiders both get more powerful. Raiders being able to zone destroy causes you to change your plans. Something I appreciate is the interesting camera that you decided to use. It's not an over-the-shoulder type, more like a... It stays in place until you move enough to one direction. I think it's pretty neat since it lets the game frame the action in the center of the screen, letting you move left and right a bit without the camera following. Definitely would ruffle some feathers, but for this type of game where aiming isn't necessary, I find it charming. The Dragon Balls also play a role by having both sides search and fight over them to gain an advantage by wishing for strength. It's cool since most games don't really involve the collecting and fighting over aspect of them. So I like this game, and the gameplay is fun enough. But I feel like there's a lot of issues that cause me to question why I'm even playing this game, like gacha progression. The way to get new abilities, passives, dragon change. To get a full 10 spin can take you 10 hours of work just to end up with nothing interesting or good. And with the ability to pay for spins, This game just flat out falls under pay to win, as badly as Battlefront 2. I hate gambling in video games. I actively avoid and do not interact with gacha games since they're a disgusting and gross way to monetize a game. It's the reason I avoided Genshin Impact and most mobile games, but I made an exception for this one. But it's still bad. There's an ability from gambling called Instant Rise that causes you to be teleported high up in the air. If a raider tries to chase you and you use it, they'll lose sight of you and then you can just grapple hook anywhere to hide easily. I was extremely lucky to get this early on, but I think it's extremely silly that longtime players have an easier game because they did more gacha. And the gacha has banners meaning some abilities and passives are not available. Even series characters that I have praised before has their problems. Some has pretty good abilities like Mai, but TP gems take a long time to get. It's kinda lame to choose between a good ability or a cosmetic for your creator character. I wasn't even able to casually get more characters since it's such a gem cost. And every raider post-release costs gems. There's just not enough to go around to get everything you want. Some series characters are in and out of the shop every season like Fortune Teller Baba, Mr. Satan, Jacko, and others. But some of them has meta abilities that are best in slot. Jacko's ship is best in slot, but I can't get it until they let me, so I'm a less effective player now. And I learned how to play more effectively. I didn't get a survivor win until like 10 hours in, and I noticed everything is easier with Instant Rise in my life. It goes back to why am I playing a game that only wants me to open my wallet since gems don't come quickly enough, fashion is too expensive to get, and the only chance to get the fun stuff is by gambling. Everyone around me who has stuck around has it all. I have enough gems for another character, but I'm waiting for Jacko, so I'm not spending them. It would be nice if the series characters could go on discount since $5 is really expensive for one character. Another problem is that you can't play Raider with your friends with randoms. I find it annoying since now I have to make the decision to either play with friends or alone. Before you could load up with friends in a Raider queue, letting there be a chance to fight your friends, but now you can't. There was a Raider queue before, but now it's priority queue based on how many survivor matches you do, giving you a higher chance to play as the Raider. Once you play as the Raider, your priority resets. But you can't gain priority with friends, so you have to play by yourself as a survivor to get the chance to play as a Raider. And believe me, it's boring. I was trying to get the play 50 games achievement, but at some point, I'm playing 4 survivor matches alone before playing as a Raider. And I would say I wasted my time with solo survivor games, since I could play with friends instead, or with people on Discord. That was probably the biggest reason I stopped playing the game because I burnt myself out. The second biggest problem is that the game later in life added crossplay, but also an extreme region lock. West and East America are not the same region. All of Canada counts as East NA, causing people to play with VPNs with each other. Another Bandai game, Gundam Evolution, that got shut down used to have an NA and European server, until they combined it since player counts were getting low. And with the long queue between games, it's crazy that this region lock is even active. And even after a long queue, you could enter a game, get knocked down, and no one comes to revive you, sending you back. The player count is just not very high to be super picky. A minor complaint is that the tutorial is a bit too long. I think it was like an hour with 3 bot games in a row, so don't expect to play with your friends right away. The graphics aren't very pleasing either, but I knew that when buying the game. Yeah, that was a lot of complaints. But the question is, should you get this game in 2024? Really, only if you vibe with what you think the game is. More hide-and-seek gameplay. And enjoy a different angle on Dragon Ball. This isn't for the brawl-hungry fighting crowd. You'll not win every encounter as a survivor or raider, but for $5 or $10, it's fun enough. There's an active community on Discord that still plays the game regularly. Give the game a try, but please, promise me that you'll not spend money on gambling. The thing is, if this game wasn't Dragon Ball themed, I wouldn't have given it the time of day. But seeing the lesser used characters and the villains with destructive power has its charm. And I have to give Bandai credit for supporting this game for 2 years. They stuck with the game when most people would call it dead on arrival. It probably helped since they can reuse assets from Xenoverse. And if you do decide to join, there's probably going to be another update in around a month. And that means a new raider. It could be a King Piccolo or Mega, maybe a movie villain. I'll probably return for a bit once the next season begins. If you stuck around till the end, you might as well watch my other Dragon Ball video where I talk about Toei's Dragon Ball movie / GT's staying power. Toodles!